Fozzie, thanks for joining us as always. Just to start, give us your thoughts, reflections on Tuesday night, the defeat to Sunderland.
Disappointing, obviously, the result. I think second half performance, definitely positive signs, and we definitely took the game to a team at the top of the league, and that's the way it should be at home. But ultimately, we've came away with nothing. But there was certainly some positives in the second half to build on.
A few eyebrows when the team sheet came out. Sean Barker and I were having a discussion on air about whether you're a recognised centre-back these days or not. Would you like to weigh in on that conversation?
I don't. We've had this conversation before, haven't we? And I've said the same thing before. I'm happy to play in either position. I think obviously as I get older, the legs feel it a little bit easier in central areas. But yeah, as I've said before, I'm happy to play anywhere.
The back three, I don't think anybody expected, with Callum the one side and Ibu Adams the other. Was there a bit of extra pressure, onus on you to keep that together?
Probably a little bit more organisationally with two players that probably not so familiar playing in there, but I think they both were very good and very aware of the positionally. So yeah, I think we did all right. But yeah, it's probably a little bit more and being vocal and organising the three of us.
How encouraged were you by that spell in the second half in particular, when the crowd really got into it and you seemed to take it to Sunderland for a little while?
Yeah, I think that's what we've got to try and build on, was the momentum that we were building, and we had 4 or 5 corners in a row. Lars has had 2 good headers and chances, and it's just not falling for us, and the crowd reacted to that, and that's the way it has to be. We have to give the crowd something to feed off as well, and obviously they're back, and then we feed off that as well. So it was a good spell, but ultimately we just didn't find that final touch, and that's what's evading us just now.
How is Lars settling in? Nice to have a new face around the group?
Yeah, it's always good to have a fresh face in. Speaks very good English, settled in really well. So yeah.
I wanted to ask you about Curtis Nelson, because obviously you've been in his shoes a couple of times, unfortunately, and he's a massive part of the leadership group in the room alongside yourself. I'm sure you've spoken to him. How's he doing? Yeah,
he seems all right just now. I think he's a very level-headed and sensible guy, so he's probably taken his minute and thought about it and realised what it is and what he's got to do now to get himself back on the pitch. And he realises it's going to be a long road, and there's various stages you go through, but I think he's mentally strong, his body is as strong as he's shown playing whatever it is, 60, 70 games in a row since he signed. So yeah, I'm sure he'll be fine.
Will you miss him as a character around the place as much as you'll obviously miss him out on the field?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's as you say, he's one of the leaders in the dressing room. So to have that voice missing is obviously going to be disappointing for us, but it also gives other people opportunities to step into that role and take more ownership and more leadership and sort of step up to the plate a little bit.
When a teammate gets news like that, is there a bit of you that is sort of thrown back to when you've been on the end of that sort of conversation?
Yeah, I was sort of I went in after the game to see him, and he was on the machine and he was speaking to John, the physio, and I kind of had an inclination from John's words and the way he was saying it that there may be something more severe than.
Sounded a bit too familiar.
Yeah, but obviously they hadn't had the scan yet, so there was no confirmation of it or anything like that. So yeah, it did sort of take me back a little bit, but I'm sure Nelson will come through it the other side.
You played some very important games for Derby through the years. With the run you're on at the moment, is Saturday about as important as you can remember for a while?
Yeah, definitely. In recent times, I think there's no hiding away from it. We were struggling for form, and we just need something to stop that sort of, not rot essentially, but turn the tide. And we've got to get back to putting points on the board, and that's what we'll be looking to do.